So it is time now where Windows 10 is losing support, just like Windows 7 did back in 2020. Now, back in 2020, you were able to upgrade your Windows 7 PC to Windows 10 fairly easily. You just go to the Microsoft website, download an exe, and open the application and just select all the stuff to install Windows 10, and you were good. Okay, you were set, but that was because almost every Windows 7 system also met the minimum requirements for Windows 10, and that's what made it very easy for lots of owners who had older PCs that didn't want to upgrade or didn't have a reason to upgrade. Well, they were still able to upgrade if they wanted to. They didn't have to buy a whole new computer. But when Windows 11 came out back in 2021, when I saw those specs, I was a bit disappointed, especially since now we are basically needing to have an 8th generation CPU by this point, and TPM 2.0 and all this other extra new stuff that Windows 10 simply did not need. And that's a big issue that I have with it, because lots of systems are now going to be thrown out, and there's going to be lots of e-waste as a result of this end of support. At the time, I had a Core 2 Duo system running literally on Windows 10. By the way, that's the exact same system that I mentioned in my other video where I tried to run Windows 11 on the oldest PC I could. And Windows 11, I just proved it right there that it could run on a Core 2 Duo from 2009. Like, let that sink in. That CPU, by this point, is now 16 years old. Like, if that isn't incredible, I don't know what is. But it's apparently not enough to run Windows 11 according to Microsoft. Microsoft here requires at least UEFI, Secure Boot, TPM 2.0, DirectX 12 or later graphics card, of which it turns out this isn't even a proper requirement, because you can run DirectX 11 graphics cards in a Windows 11 capable system, and it will still boot. Everything will still work fine without any sort of hacks, any sort of trickery. It just worked for me, at least in my experience. So that's actually not even a requirement at all. And I think also this Windows 11 requirement's also part of Microsoft's plan to get you to buy a Copilot Plus PC or something along the lines of that, or just buy a new PC in general, because if Microsoft makes it so that you can't upgrade your old PC to Windows 11, then that's going to push more people to buy from, OEMs like HP and Dell. In turn, that gives everyone more money, because now Microsoft can give out more Windows 11 licenses, and OEMs have more money, because that can cost up to over thousands of dollars. Now, if we go to the compatibility list here on Microsoft's website, you can see here we have the entire list for all Windows versions. So let's just do Windows 11 Intel processors. Let's have a look. Lowest you can do, let's see. Lowest generation that is officially supported is 8th generation CPUs. That's the oldest it's going to go. You can see here all 8th gen, but no 7th, no 6th, even though both 6th and 7th generation are actually pretty good, especially since most of those systems at the time have TPM 2.0 chips, have UEFI, have Secure Boot, have modern RAM. They're pretty good systems still to this day, even though they are about a decade old by this point. And you can see here they even have modern AVX instructions and all that, so they aren't necessarily behind in anything. But all these CPU models that people own are now basically irrelevant. And so, as a result, all these CPUs that people probably bought, whether it's for systems, for like the Core i7, if you're building like a brand new system for gaming, well, that i7 is now basically unsupported, and so is your Skylake one. So all of these models right here are now unsupported, can't use them, and so is Haswell. Even Haswell should have been supported, in my opinion, because you can see here, all of these CPUs have been cut off. All of these, entirely. So it's a massive amount. all of this has been cut off from support. It's just crazy. Even the Haswell refresh was affected. Basically any CPU that is over a decade old is just not supported by this point. And it's kind of really disappointing to see Microsoft do this, because if we have a look at the desktop Windows market share, you can see here, Windows 10, although it's been on a steady decline, it still holds 40% of current Windows PCs. So if you think about it, if there's 1.4 million Windows computers out there, and 40% of them are going to be unsupported, then imagine how much e-waste it's going to cause. Here, let's calculate it right now. So 1.4 million. 1.4 million divided by 100 times 40.5. So 567 million PCs, approximately, are gonna have to be thrown out as a result of this. But it's probably gonna be lower. Like, it's probably gonna be closer to 400 million or 300 million, but that's still a ton of e-waste. That's just still a ton of e-waste that's probably perfectly good computers that are now gone to waste because of Microsoft's requirements. So these Windows 11 requirements are basically just to force people to upgrade to newer PCs, even if they have perfectly good ones. And I'm not saying that Microsoft has to support a Core 2 Duo E7500 like I did before. Like, no. That is unrealistic, and to be honest, most people probably aren't using a Core 2 system at all in the wild at this point, except for maybe businesses that really need that hardware for like a certain application that you can't run on a newer system. But in most cases, most people are running a Core i CPU at least, and at least like Haswell level processors. So I do wish that Microsoft really did just make it like Haswell and higher. It still would have had an e-waste effect nonetheless because of Windows 10, but the requirements to have an 8th generation Intel processor, and as a result also a AMD Ryzen like 3000 series and higher CPU, like what, Zen 2 or something, or Zen 3, is just quite a bit insane. And also, for anyone wondering, I don't support Windows 11 being run on the AMD APUs from like 2014. Those can't run Windows 11. That shouldn't be supported at all. But on the Intel side is more we're talking about in the generations here. And it goes to show how these companies clearly do not care about e-waste. They do not care about how much it costs the consumer. And anyways, isn't Windows 11 just a skin on top of Windows 10? Like, it really isn't much of a difference. I seriously still use Windows 10 for some things, and for some systems that just can't run Windows 11. But you should have a look at this. WinVer over here, still the same as it was however many years ago. Like literally Windows 7, except for the logo here. It's essentially the same, just with the new theme. Anyways, rest in pieces Windows 10, and I hope that everyone that is affected by this does find some way to maybe run Windows 11 on their current PC, or you can go to other operating systems like Linux, or even get a MacBook, which is kind of ironic, but I'm already trying out macOS on my MacBook Pro mid-2012 that I featured in another video. And I just think that this whole mess here with the requirements is quite absurd. But anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.